welcome back to Frankly Speaking. I'm your host, Frank. So, many pundits on the right now are waving the white flag on America. They're saying that it's time for a national divorce. This came up on a few different sites, a few different commentators, and apparently the divide in America between the left and the right is so deep now that it's time that we all just take a little time out from one another. And possibly, I guess I'm assuming, they're suggesting we break up the country. Blue states go on their own, red states go on their own. A very interesting event, I should say. And while I think none of us are surprised that it's gotten to this point because the divisions of America run so deep and have been for a long time, it is interesting that some on the right are willing to give up on the grand experiment which we know to be America. And as you know, we've argued on the show for a long time. We've had deep systematic problems within the realm of politics, culture, and ultimately the moral collapse of our nation has led us here to this point. I guess my question for my friends on the right, and I'll keep this short today, and I don't want to keep repeating myself because of the lack of moral foundation that America lacks, because I believe this is the problem, right? As I said so many times before, you construct a nation off abstract ideas of the Enlightenment, freedom, liberty with private property rights. Okay, fine, but what are first principles in America? That the Founding Fathers and Americans in general have never taken the time to define what first principles are, only to liberate mankind from the ability to pursue its fallen nature. And that's a problem. I've said it many times before. The moment you separate America, or really any Western nation, from the social kingship of Christ, from God himself and eternal truth, what do you have left? Nothing but a bunch of man-made abstract ideas. This is the problem here. And now that we are a completely morally bankrupt nation, how do you get the genie back in the bottle? Okay, fine. I'll let it go for now, guys. I know I keep preaching that, but I want to ask you a question here. I want to ask you guys a serious question here. Let's assume the left lets you off the hook, which I don't believe the left will, right? Because the left wants to dominate your life, our lives, everybody's lives, right? They're never going to leave you alone. That's the first question. That's the first issue, I should say. But my first question is, then what? Let's say you get a bunch of red states that secede from the nation. Then what? Go back to the same Freemasonic / Protestant mashup of 1776, of the Enlightenment? Is that your answer to everything? Because those are the principles that got us here. Those are the principles that decided to not ever honor the one true covenant with God, established through Holy Mother Church and this 2,000-year analogy of the faith that was handed on to us by our ancestors. It was the Enlightenment thinkers that rebelled against their ancestors, against their parents and their grandparents and their great-grandparents to say, no, enough, I want my godless liberty. What does it mean when red states break apart? What are your first principles? Going back to those same principles that got America here in the first place? Because there's no guarantee, again, if you double down on what the original principles of the founding were, that you won't be back here in another 230, 240 years. And I would argue with with the level of technology we have, mass communication, mass travel, it won't take 230 years before the red states begin to fall apart. Because you're still not establishing any moral order within those states. If you simply say, okay, let's go back to the Constitution 2.0. The Constitution did nothing to protect us from the fallen nature of man and the moral depravity which has ensued since the Enlightenment. When are you guys going to figure this out? You guys going to, what, have a divorce from what? To start over with the same principles that got us here in the first place? You guys on the right are lost. You can talk about a national divorce, but I don't see any answers here. Maybe you buy some time if you believe you can actually get a divorce. I don't think they're going to grant it to you. But I keep telling you guys on the right, you guys are lost, man. You guys are lost. First principles. Got to honor God first and foremost. Got to understand what eternal truth is. Divine revelation. You need to understand and honor the original covenant of God, which most of you, actually almost all of you, abandoned because you broke the original covenant of God. Protestants never wanted to obey God, never wanted to obey the Church of God. That's why they created this false Protestantized phony religion, and nobody ever believed in up until the 16th century. And the Masons are the other half of the equation that, hey, let's just bring in all religions. Why don't we? It's all equal. It's not just Jesus Christ here. We can't discriminate against those that don't believe in Jesus Christ, right? This Protestantized religious liberty Freemasonic mashup. It didn't work the first time. It didn't give us any true principles. It gave us a bunch of lies, and now the country is falling apart, and you guys want what? A mulligan? You guys want a second shot to see if it works a second time around? Are you kidding me right now? And also, too, are you guys going to admit the failure of the country in the first place? If you're talking about a national divorce now, then you're effectively arguing the Founding Fathers screwed it up. The Founding Fathers' ideals were faulty. They were wrong, right? Again, you want a national divorce. What are your first principles? That's what I'm asking my friends on the right. What are your first principles? That's simple.